Hey, good morning. I'm Jeremy. Why don't you come along and join me on my journey today? Working on stripping out the van. I didn't really record much of that, but I'll just show you quickly. All the walls, the ceiling, the floor, everything. It's been stripped out. There wasn't really much to show. I guess I could have, but I just took out every single bolt, every screw, everything just slowly and carefully, and kept everything just in case I decide to reuse some of the stuff later. That's the flooring patch that I did for when I replaced the fuel pump. Instead of dropping the tank from below, I cut a hole in the floor, and that's where I replaced it. And this is a little added thing so far, is that's where my heater's gonna go. It's on top of that platform. Work in progress. But right now, after removing the ceiling, I've got these seatbelt mounts up here. This plate, these are all connected. I'm not sure how I'm gonna work this yet, because I want this nice and flush all the way along, but I also don't want this bouncing all over the place. Now I have a plan. All these wires on the wall, I want them in the wall instead. Normally they're hidden behind the plastic and insulation of the van, but since I'm removing all that, and to give me a little bit more room and just put wood paneling on, I want the cables behind. So I'll show you which cables I'm talking about. All the way down along the edge of the van, so all the way from the back of the seat all the way down to the back, and then it also goes all the way across and down the other side. I'm going to drill a hole here and keep it at this level, in behind this panel, all the way along, so into here. Put this going through there instead of surface mounted like it currently is, where all these little holes are, is where the cable was mounted like that. So I'm going to use a 1/8 drill bit. I'm going to drill my pilot holes. This is 1.25 inch hole saw, and I'm going to use my pilot hole to line it up, and I'm hoping I can make this work with this big of a hole. Or just break my drill bit off. Whatever works better. I am going to use a 1/4 inch drill bit to pre-drill my holes in the side. And then I'm going to use 1.25 inch hole saw to drill the holes. And now I have a hole. So I just need to do that a whole bunch more times, all the way along the perimeter of the van. And there's always getting these guys out of the drill. I hate these. Careful, they are sharp. Okay, so the speakers in the back end of these vehicles are riveted on, and we're going to use a 1/4-inch drill bit and drill these out. Normally you want the head to pop off, kind of like that. Doesn't always pop off. And I just take a flat screwdriver, give it a little pry. And then you use the same screwdriver. On the back there's a little push clip. Pop that out. Sit your speakers aside so they don't get damaged. Inside the door there's this thing. Again, it's riveted on. We're going to drill that one out. But there's also this thing, and this is, come back to that in a sec. First we're going to have to drill out this guy right here that's holding the carrying case for the wires. We need to take that right out. I've got that one. Now use the 1/4-inch to drill the whole thing out. And there you go. There's going to be a little plastic clip. You can just pop that with your hand. Take that off, careful, set it aside. Now allow all the wires to go through the screw, and you can pull this off. This side's a little bit easier than the other side. The other side had the backup camera and also the license plate light and the electronic locks plug. So I actually had to get considerably more. This side's only going to have the one for the speaker and that fuel line. So it's going to be relatively easy to pull through. The other side I had to remove the entire spring. This door spring. And the light bulb for the backup, or for the license plate light, just barely fits through there. So I had to pull each wire through individually, smallest all the way to the biggest, where the light was the last one to come through. Made everything a lot easier. But getting it all back in is going to be even more interesting. No problems. Now we need to get all the wires for the taillights and that to come through. So in order to do that, you gotta slightly open the door, and there is 2 Phillips head screws just on the edge of the light. It's just these 2 little clips here, and they just kind of go into the they just kind of hook into that little piece of metal there. When you pull the light out, there's 3 light clips on the back that hold your bulbs. You gotta push these little nubs in first, give it a little turn. This guy you just turn. The big ones have a little nub you gotta turn, or squish this little lever in and then turn. Sit that aside. I'll figure out a way to get the bulbs out, because it's going to make it a lot easier to get it through this hole. I just take a screwdriver, or I'm just using the end of my bit, push that rubber grommet through. Back on the inside where that rubber grommet was, right here. Now we just have to wiggle each bulb unit through, like so, like that. There's this ground wire on each side. It's held on with a 7mm nut. So we'll take it off for now. Stick the little screw back in so we don't lose it. And then we're going to feed all this wire back towards the front of the van. Now there's a lot of wire and a lot of plastic clips, and they're probably dried out and dirty and all that, but be really careful with them because they're a pain in the butt to have to replace. So that's the whole wiring harness. Now we got to make it through all the holes that we've got. Now we ran into a problem. So our 1¼ holes are not big enough to get the turn signal adapters through. They're actually 1 7/8 wide at the widest point. You could probably get it down to about 1 3/4 if you depress the little button, but it's not going to go through 1 1/4 hole. So I'm probably going to snip those off and resolder them when I get back. Great. If I would have known this, I would have just cut them at the beginning. But if you guys are doing it, cut a bigger hole. Though I don't know if there's really much room to cut a bigger hole in the panel. Actually, there isn't. So, since these aren't going to fit through the holes that I cut, because the hole I cut is 1 1/4, and turns out if I depress the button, I have 1 3/4 tight. So there's no way I'm going to get these light fixture ends through the holes. And I was thinking, well, I could have made bigger holes, but looking across, no, I can't. 1 1/4 is as big of a hole as you can, just even that hole. It's straight on the edge of the interior framing. And you got to leave a little bit of meat. If I cut a 1 3/4 hole or 1 7/8 hole, there's going to be nothing left. So what I had to do is snip these off. I'm going to have to resolder them and heat shrink tape them when I put it all back together. But I really want this cable not exposed. I want it in the wall. So unfortunately, that's what I got to do. I'm going to have to do it with 4 of the light connectors, but so be it. Well, we got through 1 hole. Well, 2, but one upright. A couple more to go. The amplifier cord. That's where it's going to end, but for now. I might have to extend the wiring and put it into the back. We'll have to solder on some more wires later and just extend it through. So I was trying to figure out what to do for these grommets for here. I was looking online for some rubber ones. Since my hole isn't perfectly flat and square, rubber grommets aren't going to work too well. And the other night I was thinking, well, what about foam? Foam works good. Here's these foam copper, they're meant for copper pipe insulation, and you can cut them to length or whatever you want to do. They're very flexible. This yellow part is a glue-to-glue seam, so once you put it over your pipe, you tear the yellow tape off and it sticks it together. I'm not going to stick it together, but maybe I will take the tape off and see how that works. Worked pretty good, getting it through. Don't plan on feeding any more wires through here, and it does come apart pretty easy. Let's see. That actually seals up really nice, so I think I'll just do that. Again, cutting about an inch of the casing off. We're gonna take off our little reminder tape. We got 2 pieces. Heat shrink. Let's put them on right now so I don't forget again. Go to the center of the wire. Start wrapping it around. And do the other one. Wrap that one around, making sure to bend over all the ends as best as possible. So you don't want those poking through the heat shrink. Since we got 2, I'm just going to do both at the same time. Twist them together. Heat up the wire until we see the flux disappear. Definitely know that the solder is not going to go in until that's melted, which is pretty quick. And hopefully we can jiggle our heat shrink over top. There we go. Hit both those with the heat. There we go. Connector number 2 hooked back. I gotta do the other ones on the other side, but I'm not gonna record all that. Make sure we got the right signal here. Should say out at right hand. Yep. Will only fit in one way. And those little plastic clips go into these little metal clips. And open the door just slightly. Grab a drill. Another screw. There we go. I'm going to turn it on, see how it goes. Well, I think that worked pretty good.